I've just started the car up in order to move it across so I can work on it, and we'll see that if you press the CD button it comes onto the radio, and press it again, it says CDC error, so we need to find out why that's got an error. I'm inclined to think that one of the CDs has warped and has stuck in its tray. CD player's behind this flap. There's the CD player. In fact, it's open. Look, that's not supposed to be open, it's supposed to be closed. Look inside, and this is the cartridge that holds the CDs. There's the eject button, and that won't eject. And in fact, what I can see is in there, the bottom one is stuck in. So that's the CD tray carrier. That's now stuck inside. You see that blue? That's the label on the top of the CD. It's probably wrinkled up. So unfortunately, in order to get it out, I'm going to have to take the CD out. In order to get the CD out, I need to move this panel. In order to move this panel, you have to take off the back panel, and that's just held on with these plastic fasteners. Also need to take out the flooring. The flooring just lifts out, so I'll do that first. That's the floor panel taken out. Now we need to take out this back trim, and it's held in with these little screw fixings. Now the middle screws out, but 9 times out of 10 you'll find that the outside goes round with it. So you have to put your finger on the outside and then unscrew it. Once you've got the middle to come out, just unwind it. Unwind it, take it out, and then that fastener will just pop out. If you don't take the middle out, it won't undo. So there's the two parts. The trim just lifts upwards and pops off, and it's held on with these little securing points. You can see actually what someone's mullered that one by trying to rip it off. It just lifts off. If it doesn't pop out easily, it's not undone properly. Now we need to pull this out, and there's the unit itself, and I need to figure out how that's held in, and it looks like it's just held in with those units there and those units there, so we'll just undo those. These two bracket nuts are 10mm, but they're those domed ones that the socket won't fit onto, so I'm using a ratchet spanner. Once they're loose, I think they're pretty much finger tight, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get that off. All four are undone now. That last one over the back down there, that really did not want to undo, but I managed to get there in the end using an open end spanner. So this thing should now just lift up, turn it over, and then we'll have to just pop those out. Probably a two-hand job, that one. There are two connectors which I found very difficult to undo. This one, it's got a push tag in the middle there. You press that down and you can just pull it off. And then this one, you actually just literally slide it out. So I held it with some needle nose pliers and just pulled it out. There's no clicks or press tags or anything for that one. That's the unit on the bench. So I'm going to have to work out how to open the box, and it seems to me that the screws are in the side here. So these are going to have to come off, and then I should be able to pop the lid off, and then hopefully that will allow me to get the cassette out. That's a Torx TX15 which fits in my power driver, should make it quicker to get it all apart. That's the side brackets off, and I've laid them out the way they came off, so when I put them back on they'll be the right way round. I've realised that you have to take the faceplate off because it connects the bottom to the top. To get this front plate off, use a screwdriver to push these down and click them. There's 3 of them, and then come to the top and use a very thin blade just to pop those down, and then pull it off with your fingernails, and then it comes off. You have to be careful not to damage it because obviously it needs to go back on. Then you can see the mechanism inside. The slider is slid in there at number 6 and it's stuck. What it also shows you is the bottom plate goes up there, and there's rubber mountings at both points, and the whole of this unit sits in the bottom plate. So the bottom plate, that part, has to be separated from the top plate. Next I've taken off this corner plate, and the corner plate has a little screw that goes in there that when you undo it, it feels like a captive screw, but it will actually then just pop off. The screws are very tiny, so you have to make sure you don't lose them. So just pop that out, and that's got a ribbon there which we won't interfere with, and this must be the power source, the controller for the laser, and the laser itself will be in there to read the CD. Of course it's not dangerous when there's no power to it. So to get it apart, just here by this tape there's a pry point there. Click that up and this will disconnect, and then each end is sprung, so you have to pull it outwards and then just lift it up and it will actually pop off. There's the spindle, and that moves all rather nicely, which means the CD isn't jammed, the carriage is jammed. Now there's a level selector just there. That appears to be a metal piece that's holding it in the correct position, and then there's one on the other side, and then I need to figure out why this won't lift up to allow the CD to come out. I've connected it up back inside the car so I can try and make it operate and see what's actually jamming it. So I'm pressing the eject button and I can't see any movement at all. Nothing seems to be operating. I'm wondering whether something's broken inside it. I'm going to take the unit out of its carriage so I can turn it over and see what's going on underneath. It has these four dampers, and they actually just pop off like that, and then all that's holding it in is that carriage spring. So if I take the spring off either end, I should be able to just take the whole thing out now. There's the underside of the unit, and you can see that it is actually connected to the case via that copper PCB, which I'm not going to take apart. Now what I need to do is I need to get this carriage to pop down one more so that I can get the actual cassette out that's got the CD in, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. What I can say is that nothing's fallen out the bottom, nothing looks broken, everything looks like it's working properly, so I'm hopeful of repairing it. This motor turns the CD, this is the laser head, this is the motor that controls the position of the laser head, and this one in the corner must be the motor that makes the carriage go up and down. Over here is the ratchet system for feeding the CDs in and out, which looks to me like it's in the wrong position, but having never seen it before, I'm not sure. This is pretty much jammed solid, and it may be my problem, so I'm going to have to try and work out how that actually operates. I've managed to get it to eject the cassette, and what I did was I rotated this wheel here so that this was further across, pressed the reset button, and it then ejected it. But I think that this is broken, and that is why it's not selecting, so unfortunately we'll have to have a new one. So off to eBay for a recon unit. Let's imagine you've repaired it and you need to put it back together. First you have to get this little spring in place, and the easiest way is to hook it on from there, hold this with a pair of long nose pliers, and then just lift it into place while you're lifting the whole of the body. When it's in correct position it will just move like that, and then you can push on the rubber bungs that hold it in place. These little bungs, they're hollow like bellows, really awkward to get on. What you need to do is force the metal spigots through and then roll them onto the end. Once you've done that, you need to adjust that so it's actually in the correct position, which is there in the middle. All the suspension points are now in place, so now we should be able to just hopefully put the casing on like that and just let it pop into place. Obviously not a one-handed job. That's all clicked into position, so we can now screw that part back on, and we can put the corners back on and then put the front back on. Again, when you come into putting the face plate back on, these sides have to be loose, otherwise you can't get the flaps and all the pieces in. This is the last bit. This is the last bit you actually do up. This should just all now pop into place. Everything's a two-handed job and it's all quite awkward, and I'm going to test it with a CD that we're not bothered if we lose it or not. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in slot number 2, because it was slot number 1 that stuck, and see if we can get it to work. I've just laid it in the car, it's not in the bracket, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm not actually getting any reading from this. If I press the CD, nothing's happening now. So that kind of convinced me that it's knackered, which is a bit annoying. I have to get another one.